So we're going to do something a little bit different today. We're going to get into some criminal cases from a therapist perspective. So let's get into it. Now, if you're new here, make sure you like and subscribe. I'm Denise Bray. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, and I want to do something different, okay? I love criminal TV. I love the criminal mind. I love crime dramas. I love documentaries, if you have not noticed. So I want to get into doing more things about the criminal justice system, get into the minds of moms who snap, okay? It's going to be called my Mommy Dearest series. So this time for our first video, we are focusing on Ruby Frankie. Now this video is going to come along with a lot of triggers for different things. So make sure you watch with a mind that is ready and suitable for some of these things. Take breaks as you need them. So let's get into it. Now we all have heard the story. If you have not, Ruby Frankie is a mom influencer along with Jody Hildebrandt. And they both got into a lot of trouble in regards to abusing children, some of their own children. And I want to go more into being raised by a parent who has mental illness, being raised by a parent who has narcissistic traits, and some possible borderline traits. Because in both these women, Judy and Ruby, I feel like there were just like some narcissistic traits, some borderline traits, and unfortunately, children got affected by that. Okay. Now, I think social media, when it comes to being a mom influencer, is a big business, and people get caught up in the celebrity, the money, the views, the clicks, and all that goes to your head. When you see a celebrity or even an influencer go from being just an influencer to now a mommy influencer, they get more views, they get more followers, more subs. That's a big business. And for someone who is not mentally stable, those wheels that are already not cranking right, not going all the way up to the elevator, is going to make things worse, and it makes things worse for their children. Now with Ruby, she was a mom influencer who came from a very authoritative kind of mindset with her children. Watching some of the videos, watching the different documentaries about her, it was cringe. And it's interesting to see how she has such a big following. That tells me, are other parents out there doing the same thing following her? Okay. Now she comes from a Mormon background, which is very rigid, very rigid. And so you have this woman who has a very authoritative background, her mindset about parenting, maybe not the most mentally stable, controlling. Okay, we'll get into her husband. And now you have an audience who enjoys watching that. Viewership, dollars. Okay, her blog blew up, okay, at the backs of her children. And when you are dealing with someone who is a narcissistic parent, you will be gaslit. You will be ostracized. You'll be made to feel like there's something wrong with you. And you start to go through a psychological battle within yourself, bartering with yourself. How can I make it another day? How can I cope with, how can I just fall in line sometimes to what my mother, my father, whoever my caregiver is, just to get them off my backs a little bit. And we saw this throughout her relationships with her children. And let's look at that, okay? Watching this story evolve and unfold over these last probably 6 months, it unfolded very fast. But it seems like there was a history of people trying to get the police, CPS people involved, but they did not listen. And unfortunately, because they did not listen, a lot of people became victims of abuse, psychological warfare, okay? Because Frankie herself, to me, comes off as someone who has both some borderline traits, very black and white thinking, a little bit of psychosis. There's a lot of access to stuff going on there. And since she is not my client, I can go off only what I have seen in different specials about her. But she comes off very much of, it's all about me, a narcissistic parent, abusing her children for the sakes of clicks and views. And it was hard to watch. And I think you have this person here, who is Ruby, who was controlling not only her children, but her husband. It was interesting how I watched the different documentaries about her. Her husband had no idea what was going on. He was also controlled, manipulated, and labeled a problem because he had watched a little bit of inappropriate stuff. You know, YouTube doesn't like certain words, so I'm not going to say them. But he had an addiction, according to Ruby and Jody. Now, Jody is the one who is the master manipulator to me. Jody comes off And it's interesting. Let me pull it back a little bit. Because Jody, let's look at her as a person. She's a therapist. Therapists have a lot of, I think, people look at us sometimes as the authority on certain topics, and they trust us. And sometimes we can use our power in not a good way. Not me, girl. Not me. But this is not the first time I've seen some therapists in some kind of criminal case involving abusing people, clients, things like that. So looking at Jody, because to me, Jody is really the master manipulator. She, to me, has borderline traits. Very black and white thinking. Her way or no way. And to know that she abused another person, Jessie, was probably one of her first victims. Unfortunately, Jessie is a child, now an adult, whose parents decided they didn't want to deal with them anymore. They decided, hey, we're going to go visit Jody. And at the end of that trip, I believe Jessie at the time was maybe 15, 16. They were having just different teenage problems, not connecting, acting out, running away. And so the parents decided, oh, we're going to leave you here with Jody. They did not tell them that they were leaving them there with Jody. Okay. All of a sudden, Jody comes down into the basements and tells Jessie, you're here with me now. And we see the abuse. We hear the story that Jessie went through. Jessie now goes through as they, them pronouns, which I am using out of respect. And just how Jody was able to wear them down and not have them have a sense of self anymore. And Jessie is still healing from all of the abuse of living with someone who, to me, has borderline traits. Okay. And a lot of people can relate to having parents who are either narcissistic, emotionally immature, borderlines, but we don't talk about it enough. Instead, those children are left to feel like something's wrong with them. People don't understand because society shows most people come from a very good home according to TV. According to a lot of those TV shows we watched in the 90s. But behind closed doors, a lot of people are going through the same thing that Frankie did to her, Ruby did to her children, and the same thing that Jody did to a lot of people. And it's interesting how, because Jody is a therapist, once again, who has that psychological background, she is able to manipulate so many people she hurt, her clients. This woman was breaking confidentiality, making up lies all across town, calling their jobs. And it's amazing how, I think because of her being a white woman, she got away with a lot of stuff for a very long time. Okay. Now, looking at the children in this situation, they also were crying out for help. And I wonder, what was it about Ruby was it the psychological power that Jody had over her that made her decide, yes, I'm going to go live with her, put my children in these situations, do so many wrong things to break those children, because in her eyes, children are evil. It's almost like her mindset was, you're going to have to pay for being alive, for being born, for existing. And like many documentaries I have watched about her clips, I don't think of the one child had ran away, child R. If he was not able to get away, the abuse would have continued, unfortunately. And we see a lot of cases like this. This is not the first one. There was a case probably 5-6 years ago where another child, I have to look it up, but the family here in the IE, they had a bunch of kids and one of them ran away. And they went to the house and they were malnourished, they were in cuffs. The living conditions were horrendous, inhumane. And just like this situation, that family, when the police came, it was like they were disillusioned. They were like, what? You're here for me? It's like there's a disconnect from reality and what is really going on. And I think these are more extreme cases, but very relatable cases. A lot of people have gone through the psychological warfare of living with a parent, living with people just like this. And I'm gonna put up some of the characteristics of what a narcissistic parent is. And ask yourself, have I been living in this situation? But it's the role of social media and how social media plays into this facade for clicks and views. Okay, and a lot of children are being pushed in front of the camera because their parents want to make money. Parents want the fame. And we saw with Jody, when they eventually were sentenced, Ruby, she came to terms with it. But it's interesting because I'm still wondering, from the time she was arrested, from the time she was making those jailhouse calls, taking no accountability, no nothing, what was it about when she got to sentencing, she suddenly decided, okay, I'm gonna play ball, I'm gonna admit to all these things? To me, it felt still contrived, because I'm still wondering what is really, it felt like manipulation in order to get a lower sentence. Now, Jody, on the other hand, did not cop to anything, did not take any accountability. It's more of those borderline personality disorder traits. And I'm wondering how many other victims that she has. Jessie is a victim, but a lot of her clients are victims too. Okay, you have to watch and pay attention to how much power and control people in the mental health field have. I gotta say it, because we do have a lot of power. We do at times. I'm saying we because I'm in the field, but I'm not saying I, because I don't do these things. But I do feel like there is a way that people can fall under the guise of a therapist and fall into different traps mentally and be taken advantage of. There are not always good therapists out there. There are not always good psychiatrists, doctors. People will take advantage when they can. And I want to see the kids heal from this. It's hard to heal from narcissistic parenting. Narcissistic relationships in general, to me, are some of the hardest relationships to heal from. But you can heal, okay? You can work through it. Jessie is a victim of Jody's who has worked through and is continuing to work through. It's going to take years of therapy to work through having someone who's a narcissistic parent, a husband, a wife. Those are the hardest relationships to overcome. And some of the ways that you can heal from them, first is recognizing and telling yourself, I am not the problem. It is their stuff that they're pushing onto me. Give yourself kindness, give yourself grace, and give yourself time to heal. It will take time, and you can heal, but you have to make sure you take some deep breaths and recognize it's going to be a process. With Ruby, I hope that she is getting help inside of prison. Jody, I'm not quite too sure about her. It's a lot of mental health stuff going on there that I hope she does stay in jail for a very long time. But they each, well, Ruby got, I think, what was it, 4 to 30 years? And I can't remember what Jody got. But it's interesting in Utah, why they're in jail, they're able to, the parole board and things like that are able to tell and let them know when they're ready to be released. It's not a concrete sentence. And I think that's not a good thing, because Ruby can get out in 3 years, 4 years, and that's not enough for me. I think she needs more time. But let me know your thoughts about healing from narcissistic wounds, narcissistic parenting, and how the control and manipulation has maybe affected you. And we can get into more videos. Let me know if you like my Mommy Dearest series. This is the first one. What other cases should I look at? Should we do more deep dives? But I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.